Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and so glad to have you along with us. So how are you? What have you been doing besides shoveling snow? I've done a lot of that this past week. I know we need snow. I know we need cold. I know we need ice. I know people enjoy it. I don't enjoy it like I used to, but I don't resent it because I know other people enjoy it. Weather's a little warmer now. Still got a lot of snow out there and ice. The ice anglers are finally happy. At least they were from the cold weather. Again, I'm not much of an ice fisherman these days, but I know that people are. I know it's a productive, effective way to fish. I know a lot of people love it. And just be careful on the ice. The inland lakes, yes, they're going to be good ice. Great Lakes, Lake St. Clair, Saginaw Bay, Saginaw River. Be careful. I'm not one of those people who says the ice is never safe, because obviously it is. Years ago, Coast Guard Station, the Coast Guard in general, but Coast Guard Station Saginaw River is the one I'm looking at right now. They used to put out statements saying, the ice is not safe. Stay off the ice. And they said this, the policy handed down from above, as hundreds, if not thousands, of fishermen were fishing the ice in front of the Coast Guard station. So, of course, the ice can be safe. But it can also be squirrely. It can also be dangerous. And conditions on a river like the Saginaw River with flowing water underneath cutting the current can change fast, change quick. Saginaw Bay is the same way. I would never tell somebody who grew up on the shores of Saginaw Bay that it's never safe, because they know that bay like the back of their hand. They know when they can get out there. They know how to get out there. They know where to go to catch fish. But the folks coming in from outside of the area stand on the shore of that thing. They look out there and go, well, I can go out there. Other people are out there too. Be careful. Follow somebody out there who knows what they're doing. Are there fish to be caught out there? Absolutely. Absolutely. In my mind, there's not a fish in the world, I don't care if it's a new state record walleye, not worth going out there on bad ice to chase that fish. But again, you make your own decision. We're all adults. We can decide what we want to do. I'm not telling you what to do. Don't tell me what to do, and we're all good, right? If you want to go out on the ice and catch big fish, good luck. Have fun. Catch big fish. My fishing is more of a summertime fishery. That's where I like to go. Out there in the nice, warm summertime. All right, so anyway, the Deer Management Initiative campaign here in Michigan I find very interesting. I filled out my application. If the powers that be are going to give the average Joe Blow deer hunter an opportunity to be involved in the conversation about deer management, I'm going to take them up on it, or at least I'm going to fill out the application. Am I an expert deer hunter? Obviously not. I think I've proven that. Am I qualified to be on the deer management initiative? I don't know. I'll leave that up to the powers that be. I filled out the application. But I think you can't gripe about deer hunting in Michigan and not fill out that application to be involved in the process. Speaking of the process, I also filled out my Pure Michigan application, Pure Michigan Hunt application. The DNR, once again, has made a huge mistake, in my opinion. And the mistake they made was when they announced the Pure Michigan Hunt winners, my name wasn't on the list, once again. And I'm pretty sure that I was supposed to be one of the Pure Michigan Hunt winners this year. I'm pretty sure that was supposed to happen. I felt it in my bones. I am convinced that I will win a Pure Michigan Hunt sometime in my life. But they better hurry. they better hurry. I'll just leave it at that. The big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auctions coming up Saturday, March 2nd. Love to see you there. Tickets are still available. We will sell out, so don't drag your feet. Go to one.bidpal.net, one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor to get your tickets. The live auction includes some wonderful items, including an African safari. We've just added a whitetail hunt in Illinois down in the Golden Triangle. Predator hunts, bear hunts, fishing trips, Detroit River walleye trips, Saginaw Bay walleye trips, a bunch of guns, blinds, hunting stuff. The dinner is going to be outstanding. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar is going to be our guest. We're not making him work this year. We've just invited him as a guest. But we will feature a signature recipe from Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. In fact, it happens to be elk in red wine sauce. And it'll be a good one. One.bidpal.net, one.bidpal.net. The concept, speaking of events, okay, we're also going to have, so we've got the Trinity Monitor dinner. We're going to do another Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in March. But on a recent Wednesday night live, maybe it was a behind the mic. I do live streams every week. And I like to encourage folks to be involved and to be part of the conversation and ask questions and make comments. And it's a lot of fun. And one of the comments last week was about, we were talking about, well, for those of us who are not huge fans of winter anymore, looking forward to warm weather. And I said, one of my goals this year is to play more golf. I enjoy golf. My wife Denise and I just picked it back up a couple of years ago, and we really enjoy it. Somebody, I think his name was Bill Lincoln, somebody made the comment about, why don't you have a Mike Avery Outdoors golf outing this summer? And I went, yeah, that could actually be kind of fun. I made that comment casually, and people jumped on it. They said, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And it started to get legs, and it started to snowball. So we are tentatively considering, because I know how much work these things are. I'm not going to put it together, but if I can get enough help, it sounds like fun. Tentatively considering a Mike Avery Outdoors golf outing, probably in the West Branch area this summer, quite possibly at the West Branch Country Club. Late July, August, it can't be during prime walleye fishing. It can't be when I'm heading north to Ontario for a bear hunt. I'm going to be very selfish about this. And the proceeds of the event will probably go to MUCC's Camp for Kids. See, it's starting to make so much sense. Playing golf, raising money for a good cause. Why not? So kind of keep an ear out for that. We're going to talk more about it. What else? Wednesday Night Lives. I mentioned those. Wednesday Night Lives, Behind the Mic live streams. I do those every week. Keep an eye and ear out for those. Love to have you join us. Email address, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. The website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, after the break, I want to talk with a UP hunter. His name is Jordan Hoover. I think he has an interesting perspective on things, and I want to hear it. Then Jay Wolderski talks about the upcoming Sturgeon Shivaree on Black Lake. And then one of the folks who did win the Pure Michigan hunt, I think it was supposed to be Mike Avery, but it's actually Billy Wineland. He's going to join us at the end of the hour. Then in the second hour of this week's show, the Whitetail Whisperer, John Eberhart. Then Corporal Mike Hearn of the DNR talking about snowmobiling, staying safe, and can you run an ATV on a snowmobile trail? And in our third hour, Skeeter Beckman of Brenton, USA Firearms, talking about predator hunting here in Michigan. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. So it's going to be a good show, a fun show. I'm looking forward to talking with my guests this week, as I always do. Again, my name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mikeaveryoutdoors.com. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Want to know what's on your mind? Send me your pictures. If it is a picture of a kid in the outdoors, in an outdoor-related situation, hunting, fishing, shooting, trapping, use the hashtag #ForwardFuelsTradition, and you just might win. Lots coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. And let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by, speaking of the UP, this company right here. You know the sound, right? That's the sound of my Rapid River knife opening. I love Rapid River knives. I carry a Rapid River knife every day. I would encourage you to check them out. If you can, go to the website or go to the showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. Check it out. You'll see what I mean. It's a beautiful place. It's a destination. If you can't make it up there, go to the website rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us. You can see what the company has to offer. You can order a knife. You can have it engraved. You can have it sent right to your house. I think Chris Durson of Rapid River will be on the show next week to talk about a very cool hunting experience he had and a new line of knives that he's coming out with at Rapid River, rapidriverknifeworks.us. Speaking of the UP, a beautiful part of our state. Sometimes I think of it as its own world, as its own state. Because in some ways, well, in a lot of ways, it is so different from the downstate world and certainly the southern Michigan world. A lot of different things, a lot of different outdoor recreational opportunities, a lot of challenges these days. Jordan Hoover is a guy that I've never met, but I've talked with him a little bit online. I've seen some of his posts. I find his way of thinking interesting. And I thought, you know what? Let's just get a guy on the show who is an avid outdoorsman, who lives in the UP, and get his thought, his perspective, not from a group, not from an association, but the perspective of a UP hunter. And Jordan Hoover has agreed to join me. Hey, Jordan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Mike. I'm well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about you, your background. Who are you? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh, well, Reader's Digest version on that. Spent most of my life living and hunting in the UP. I have to confess, in full disclosure, at one point in time, I was what we call a troll up here. My family moved north to Calumet back in 1997, and today I've got a wife and 4 sons, and we call it the UP home, and I've spent nearly 3 decades hunting, fishing, and living in the UP.
How has that experience changed in those last 30 years?
Boy, that is a whole show in and of itself, Mike. There's many ways it's changed. Obviously, we've got a continually evolving landscape here where, we have major nature conservancies and things of that nature, land conservancies, buying up thousands of acres at a crack. There's concerns about public access because, as I'm sure you're aware, much of the UP is CF ground. So we're heavily reliant on that public access land to do the things that we love to do. We've certainly seen a downward trend, I would say, in the hunting aspect of things. And obviously, development begins to spider web outwards, and, there's habitat loss and things of that nature. So there's definitely some concerning trends in the UP across the board.
Okay, as an avid outdoorsman, as a hunter who now calls the UP home for the last 3 decades, what do you want to see? What would you like to see done differently? What are you encouraged by?
Well, what I'm encouraged by lately, I have to say I'm really excited about what could possibly come out of this new deer management initiative. That'll be the first time in my lifetime that I have seen the department put a call out to the rank and file hunter and solicit their not only their opinion, but give them a seat at the table. To my knowledge, that's never been done, and I think that that's a very good first step. It'll certainly provide a broader pool of opinion, and I'm hopeful that maybe something good can come of that. What would I like to see different? Gosh. I guess first and foremost, I'd like to see a return to sound science-based management above all else, regardless of what the resource is, whether we're talking timber, whether we're talking white-tailed deer, whether we're talking grouse, whether we're talking lake trout. It's my perspective that science ought to drive the decisions we're making rather than what I'll call a mob mentality or simply opinion, which unfortunately I think there's been some decisions made that have turned their backs on science, and I would like to see us gravitate back towards that.
I know too, in reading some of your posts, habitat management, deer yards and such. I mean, that's something that's on your mind, as well as many others.
It certainly is, Mike, and there's a lot of cause for concern, and I don't think that the average person is truly aware of how serious the situation is here in the UP. Everybody knows that we have some monstrous winters up here for sure, but really, I mean, we talk about white-tailed deer management, right? We talk about all the things that factor into that. We talk about things like APRs. We talk about managing buck-to-doe ratios. We talk about habitat. There's a lot of factors. We talk about predation. But here, in my opinion, the number one factor that determines carrying capacity in the UP is winter habitat and the condition of it. Old Man Winter is who manages the deer here at the end of the day. At one time, we had 122 deer wintering complexes across the Upper Peninsula. Today, we have 36. Of the 36 that we have, only 6 of them currently satisfy the DNR metric of 50% thermal cover. So in layman's terms, essentially we have 30 deer yards remaining today, which is a pittance of what we had, and we're losing deer in the vast majority of those yards every year.
So how does this get addressed? I mean, the average hunter really, unless you've got a whole bunch of land, I mean, there's not much you can do about it, right? What's the answer to this, Jordan?
Well, I think step number one is getting this on the public radar and, doing our due diligence to raise the awareness and get people involved. I've had numerous conversations with different personnel within the Department of Natural Resources, some private entities. I participated in the UP Habitat Work Group, things of that nature. I'm currently working on a habitat initiative all my own that we've affectionately coined Winter Shield. And that's in its infancy right now, but the big idea there is basically to plant trees. Plant trees like mad. We want to get in and we want to stabilize our most critical deer yards at present. And then moving forward, we want to go back to all these deer yards that no longer exist, and we want to restart them. We want to revitalize them and rebuild them. I mean, obviously, a project like this, Mike, we're talking about slow-growing timber. So this is a 25, 30-year proposition before there's meaningful recovery. Really, this is something that should have been started 50 years ago, but better late than never.
Yeah, well, in talking with John Azogan and some others who share that same opinion, it's like, well, we should have been doing this a long time ago, but it's got to start sometime, right? You can't just keep kicking the can down the road. You got to do something.
Oh, I agree. And I'm a guy that I like to get my hands dirty, and I like to focus on what we can do. And there's a lot of very adamant opinion in the UP about what needs to happen with deer management, and a lot of it, I think, does center around the wolf. But that's here and there to me, because ultimately, Mike, as you're well aware, they're on the ESL, and there's nothing at the state level that we're going to do. So I want to focus on things that we can address, things that we can bring change with, and winter habitat chief among them.
One of the topics or concepts or ideas that I find interesting, and I'm looking at it from my downstate perspective, is in some circles, not across the board, but in some circles, and it's a significant percentage of outdoorsmen and women here in the state, the vehement and adamant, I'm going to say, hatred of the DNR. And I feel like in some circles that's even more prevalent in the UP.
Well, you're not wrong, Mike. I mean, the UP is certainly I'll call it a very anti-establishment type location. Folks love their freedom, and they don't like being told what to do. There's a lot of good people here, very devout, very outspoken. The DNR certainly has a bit of a public relations issue to address here from my perspective. And, the DNR isn't blameless. There's been missteps in the past, and I think that a lot of people are holding on to old grudges. But it would be my perspective, Mike, that, if we're going to go forward here at some point, we've got to sit down at the table and we got to find some forgiveness. We got to find some common ground, and we got to work together, because the DNR is not going to solve it by themselves. Michigan hunters aren't going to solve it by themselves. I mean, that's the definition of deer management cooperator, right? We got to work together. And if we don't, nobody's going to come out of this on the winning end.
I think when I was a kid, we're going way back now. I mean, that's where the deer were, in the UP. My dad used to get in the car and drive to the UP and take the ferry across and hunt deer in the UP, because that's where they were. Boy, things have changed, haven't they?
They sure have. And, when I was a young man, my family has hunted the Iron County region, Crystal Falls, probably since the post-Vietnam era. And I couldn't wait as a young man to head north with the other men when I finally turned 12, and I got to go to my first bow camp. And we did, I guess, what you'd call a spike camp. We would go as far as the four-wheel drives would take us, unload the three-wheelers, go as far as those would take us, hike our stuff in, set up, tents, wall tents, and spend a week, 2 weeks. Made quite an impression on me as a young man, and back at that time, that was the early to mid-'90s, and of course we had 1 million deer on the landscape at that time, which was drastically different than today.
Jordan, if somebody wants to continue a conversation with you or learn more about your shield, what's the best way to find you? On your Facebook page, just do a search for you on Facebook?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on Facebook. Yep.
All right, Jordan. Listen, I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate the comments that you make online, and I'm glad to be able to give you this chance to talk to a little bit bigger audience. So let's stay in touch, all right?
I appreciate it, Mike. Have a good one.
All right, Jordan Hoover, you can find him on Facebook talking about life in the UP these days and some of the interesting situations. We face these all across the state, right? But the UP is just something very special, and I appreciate his input. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, I want to talk about Sturgeon and next weekend's Sturgeon Shivaree, and then we got to check in with one of the luckiest guys in Michigan, Billy Wineland, who won the Pure Michigan Hunt. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us in Tawas, WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com, linwoodbeachmarina.com. As of midweek, as we are recording the show, there's ice in the marina. Anglers are fishing in the marina, and they're fishing some shore ice. There is some open water just offshore in front of the marina. Now, conditions can change. Check with Linwood Beach Marina. LinwoodBeachMarina.com, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. As we get further into the spring and you want to do some open water fishing, Linwood Beach is also your source for that. LinwoodBeachMarina.com. And when it comes time to get the boats out in force, if you want to get your boat ready for the water, again, Linwood Beach Marina, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. I want to turn our attention now a little bit further north than Linwood Beach to Jay Wolderski, who is sitting on the ice, I think, this morning, aren't you, Jay?
Well, didn't make it out this morning. My wife thought she'd rather go this afternoon, so we're catching up some of the details, getting ready here, and we'll go out this afternoon.
Jay, you are with Sturgeon for tomorrow, the Black Lake chapter, and you got a big Shivaree coming up, next weekend, I think, right?
Yes, sir. It will be the 2nd and the 3rd.
Well, this concept, we always used to talk to Brenda Archambault, the Sturgeon General. She has now retired, and you have replaced her. You have some big shoes to fill, my friend.
I'm telling you, it's a very tough chore. There's no doubt about that.
But you've got a great resource to promote and a lot of people behind you and behind the resource. I just think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. I've got a pretty good board that is pretty strong. You know, some of the members were left over from when Brenton and Gil were there in charge, so we're pretty solid.
Sturgeon are really a part of your history there, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And
been sturgeon fishing since as long as I can remember. I mean, my father, and grandfather started fishing back in 1947 when they first opened up the season. So it's been with me for a long time. And I'm just curious, over those years in your family history, how many sturgeon do you think have actually been caught? Have there been a bunch of them over the years, or is it's just a once in a long time harvest, or do people not even harvest them anymore? The problem with, our season is pretty limited because we're only allowed 6 a year. That's for the entire state. The last one I actually took in Michigan was in the year 2000. My father had like 22 or 23 in his lifetime. My grandfather had like 21. So the numbers have absolutely declined, although we definitely have them on the rebound now.
Oh, you certainly have. Certainly have. And you guys are doing so much to bring sturgeon back and promote them. So what is the role of the Shivaree? Is that a celebration of the resource? There are a few fish harvested, and people will say, well, how can you harvest the fish you're bringing back? But biologically, statistically, it's nothing. And the attention you bring to the resource is phenomenal.
Exactly. Not everybody's fond of the fishing part of it, but we take out under 2% is what is a legal harvest. Now, and that legal harvest is split between us and the natives. So technically the number is 14 total. Population's well over 1,200 now. And so, like I said, we're in pretty good shape as far as numbers coming back. The fish are just coming of age to come back as adults that we started planting back in 2000 neighborhood. So the numbers are really going to start skyrocketing here in the next 10 years.
Shivaree is next weekend, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, as people are hearing the show, yes, it's next weekend. So it's got, as I'm thinking about this, it's got to be the shortest fishing season in Michigan. It's only a few minutes long, isn't it? Or hours?
Well, traditionally, we do have a 5-day season that lasts from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And this year may be one of those years. Ice conditions are not the best. Visibility in the lake is fairly poor in any kind of depth. So it may go a while this year.
So give us the details, Jay, the dates on the event, and where do we find you, and what are we going to find?
All right, our Shivaree starts Friday afternoon, 2:00. We open the tent. That day, a lot of people are out setting up their fish anties and getting prepared for the opening of sturgeon season, which is Saturday the 3rd. We have music in a tent that will be right at the end of Zoner Road, right in front of basically what used to be the old Black Lake Hotel years ago. And we're going to have live music starting at 2:30 in the afternoon. We work till 10 o'clock at night. Got a lot of knickknacks to sell. We got music again starting Saturday. That's at 11 o'clock with Mike Ridley, and we move on from there. Have music all day long.
It'll be a great weekend, and it's all in celebration of this resource, the sturgeon. And Jay, let's you and I stay in touch as we get closer into the springtime too. I want to talk with you about the sturgeon guarding program and watching these giant fish come back upstream to spawn. I think that's fascinating.
Absolutely, and we also have Saturday from like 11 to 4. We have a lot of kids things there. We have educational things. We have a sturgeon in the classroom fish in there. We have the lamprey program. They're going to have lampreys on display there, and we have a lot of things. This is not just the party. We have a lot of educational things in the tent also. Excellent,
Jay. I look forward to talking with you again. Keep up the good work. SturgeonForTomorrow.org is the website, SturgeonForTomorrow.org. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk with one of this year's Pure Michigan Hunt winners. I think it was supposed to be me. I think he took my spot. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell with a different camouflage pattern in less than a minute? Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. And if you need big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can help you out. And if you are a saddle hunter, VersaSkins also has saddle hunting jackets. Find them on the website, versaskins.com. All right, well, I was telling you for the last several months that I was going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. I knew it. I knew I was. I could feel it in my bones. And then when I saw the announcement, there was no Mike A drawn. Nothing. I thought, well, they must have made a mistake. There was a Bill W. who was drawn, and that turned out to be Bill Wineland. And Bill is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Bill, congrats on being one of 3 winners of this year's or last year's Pure Michigan Hunt winner. That's got to be quite a thrill.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. I appreciate the congratulations. I'm still kind of living in a dream right at the moment.
Oh, man. I can only imagine. I just think that is the coolest thing. Bill, what's your story here? Had you been applying all along? Did you wait till the last minute? And how many times did you apply?
I've applied several times. I went back and looked at my list, and it looks like I've applied about 8 times, 7 or 8 times, something like that. And I applied for the elk permit. I applied for the Pure Michigan Hunt, and obviously I'm a sportsman. I always apply. I buy my hunting and fishing license in March every year before the season starts, and I got an email because I get texts or emails from the DNR all the time. So I got an email, and I was looking through it, and it said something about the Pure Michigan Hunt. And I said, I'm pretty sure I applied, but I'm going to check. So I went on to the DNR website, and I hadn't applied. This was the 27th of December. And so I immediately applied. I'm going, man, I can't believe I didn't apply already. So I'm checking, but long story short, I ended up applying, and it was, I had 4 days to go. It was like. So
when you say you applied 8 times, that was in previous years. This time that you won, you applied at the last minute. And how many applications did you put in?
Just one.
Oh, Well, Bill, it's been good talking to you. I got to let you go now because just one time you applied at the last minute and you won.
Yeah, exactly. I have applied for years. I'm an avid hunter and fisherman, and my wife and I have talked many times. And I said, people, I see these shows where they go to Africa or wherever. I said, in my life, I'd just like to either shoot an elk or a moose. One of the two. I don't care, but that's my dream hunt is an elk or a moose, And, we talk many times about when I apply, I don't ever expect to win, but, because I hunt and I fish all the time, it's just a donation to the DNR. Honestly, who expects to win,
So can I assume that the of all the different things you win with the Pure Michigan Hunt, that bull elk tag is the one you're most excited about?
It is. It really is. It's like you watch it on TV, I don't ever get to participate. I've never known anybody that won a Pure Michigan Hunt, none of it. So it's kind of, to me, or an elk hunt. I met one guy. I got a friend that won back in 2001. He got a cow tag, but I never met anyone, who got a Pure Michigan Hunt. So that is for sure the highest level for me. I mean, I'm going to enjoy the bear hunting, and I'm an avid pheasant hunter, and also, so I'm looking forward to the bear hunt also. But the elk is definitely number one.
Oh,
for sure.
Man, I can't even imagine getting that phone call. And real quick, before I let you go, I know you say you're an avid outdoorsman. You're also really very much involved in getting kids involved in the outdoors, specifically fishing too, right?
Yeah, my wife and I have had a bluegill fishing derby, and it's more or less just to introduce kids to the outdoors. A lot of these kids, they only get to fish once a year, so we want to make it special. So we do it on Free Fishing Weekend in the summer, and this year, it's crazy that it happened this year. This year is our 25th year of putting on this fishing derby. It's just my wife and I. We have a few small sponsors that help us with a little bit of things, and some of them have been doing it for years. So, but thankfully, we are able to keep it going. We're both retired, so now the money's a thing, so, but we still plan on doing it as long as we can. But it's bluegill fishing only, and our claim to fame is we've never had a kid that didn't catch fish. But again, the bluegills are coming up on their beds. So my wife and her group of girls, they put together the prize packages. They all get a gift bag. They all get, prizes from fishing poles and nets and tackle boxes. And even sometimes we had a guy donate some bicycles to us.
Wow.
So,
well,
but our claim to fame is the kids that catch fish, and they go all the way from 0 to 17, and I walk around the island.
Bill, I'm saying, listen, I'm out of time. I got to let you go, but I can tell you this: if I wasn't going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt, you're the guy that I would pick. So, congrats on this, Bill Wineland, one of 3 Pure Michigan Hunt winners. Couldn't go to a nicer guy. There's always next year. I can start applying for next year now. I am going to win this thing, but if I can, I'm glad that Bill Wineland did. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. Lots more coming up here.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I do think the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station. But if you can't, hear all 3 hours of the show on your local station, or if, God forbid, you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, the broadcast footprint, as we call it, it's nice to know that there is a podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show available. I talk about this every week, the difference between a podcast and a broadcast. And you don't care. I know you don't care. But I do. It's kind of a big deal to me. You can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show all over the place. In fact, I put it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I post it on the Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, now called X, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player FM, Deezer, Odyssey, even on YouTube. Yes, I put the radio show, the podcast version of the radio show, on YouTube. You know, I joke around about podcasting, though. I do like podcasting. I think it's a great way to reach people these days. In fact, each month I do podcasts for Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, and Primal Outdoors. So I would encourage you to keep an ear out for those as well. I think I made it quite clear during the last deer season that I stink at deer hunting. I embrace that. I admit it. I acknowledge that. I think it's probably because I don't take it as seriously as I could. I don't, like, you know, walleye fishing, turkey hunting, bear hunting. Those are my loves. That's what I really enjoy, and that's where I'm going to spend. If I'm going to try to improve myself, those are the areas it's going to be. Deer hunting, you know, I do it because it's part of our Michigan history and tradition, and it's part of my Avery family history and tradition. But am I passionate about it anymore? No, I'm not, because of a variety of factors over the years. I do it because it's the thing to do in the fall. But I do have much respect for those who are good at it, who are passionate. I feel that way about any endeavor. I have respect for people who are the pinnacle of what it is that they do. I don't care what it is. In this case, talking about deer hunting, and you talk about pinnacle and top of the heap, here in Michigan, John Eberhart's right there, right? He's right there at the top. I got an email from John the other day, and he's on the cover of the latest Deer and Deer Hunting magazine. And he sent me an email. He says, I finally made it. And he sends a copy of the cover of the magazine. And I'm looking at that going, I would think that John Eberhart could consider himself a success finally when he was on the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I didn't know that he had to be on the cover of a magazine to feel fulfilled. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. John, welcome back. You kind of broke my heart there, buddy.
Well, you know what? I love your introduction, and you made a very valid point. I was on top of the heap when I started doing interviews with you, Mike. But this is just a slightly another level.
Icing on the cake, right? Icing on the cake.
Yeah, there you go. Icing on the cake. Yeah.
John, you know, over the years, honestly, though, you know, all kidding aside, I think you've probably accomplished just about everything that any deer hunter could ask for, haven't you?
Yeah, as far as for the type of properties I hunt, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one thing interesting about the deer and deer hunting article that I didn't even mention to you, and it's raised a lot of eyebrows, is when you open it up to the 6-page article, because this was an interview article. This Darren Warner interviewed me, and he's interviewed a lot of hunters over the last 20 years. He's a freelance writer, and he actually told me after one of my interviews, he said, you're the most detail-oriented bow hunter I've ever spoken to, of all the people I've talked to that bow hunt across the country. So when you open up to this article in huge bold print across the center of both pages, and I don't agree with this because I don't think there is such a thing, but it says, is he the best bow hunter in America?
Wow. Wow.
In huge print.
Wow.
And Dan Schmidt, the editor of the magazine, allowed him to do that because he kind of felt that way too. But there's no way of being a best bow hunter in America. There's just too many terrain features and types of properties, and everything takes a different skill set to hunt different types of terrain features. But I was very flattered by that.
Oh, you should be. How cool is that? And you've mentioned properties now twice in our conversation. Why is the area that you hunt such a factor in what type of hunter you are, John?
Well, because when you hunt public and free permission properties only, I mean, that's all you hunt. You've never paid to hunt any place in your life. You've never hunted managed properties. And you've taken, in my case, 55 book bucks. That's difficult because you're always hunting against competition, even on free permission properties. It's properties that people, the owners let other people hunt. So you always have competition. Whereas if you're hunting like the TV guys do, or a lot of the YouTube video guys do, or just a lot of people in general that hunt ultra managed property where they're growing bucks until, they're 3.5 or 4.5 years old without consequence, and there's no competition, it's easy to kill those. That's why there's so many guys that just kill monster bucks every year, because they don't have any competition. And to me, if you are not hunting against competition, there's no way of measuring your skill set. I guess that's the best way to put it. If you're hunting against competition, in sports, you take sports like baseball, basketball, football, Michael Phelps in swimming, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, those guys have competed against tens of thousands of other pros, and they're at the top of that icon status because they've out-competed all the other pros that have out-competed other people as they were growing up and made pros. So, and they're doing it on the same exact playing fields. In hunting, there is no exact same playing fields. The playing fields are so different. You're not competing against everybody under the same criteria. So when you can do it against heavy competition, that just adds a whole nother level to it. In my opinion, there's literally thousands of guys across the country that are phenomenal bow hunters, that if there were a best bow hunter in America scenario, there's, like I said, thousands of guys that hunt public lands that compete against lots of guys and consistently kill bucks every year. Most of them never get any recognition because they're not the size of bucks you see on TV. And plus, they don't go out every week to a different area and shoot a monster buck like they do on TV to have a TV show. It takes them a whole year to possibly kill the best buck in the area. And it's just a totally different playing field when you're hunting against competition.
Wouldn't just about every hunter in Michigan be considered hunting against competition?
Oh, no. There's lots of people in Michigan that own several hundred acres and they manage it, and nope, they don't have any competition. There may be one or two other guys on several hundred acres. But yeah, there's lots of big private grounds where it's managed, and they don't shoot deer till they're 3 or 4 years old. So that's totally different than going on public land where there's many hunters and they've targeted antlered bucks, since their first antlered season, or even as button bucks with hunters with doe permits.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Well, I feel, I don't have several hundred acres of finely managed land, but we do have some lease property, but it's used for several different purposes. And believe me, I feel the competition. I know that the state guys are over there. I know that all the private land around us guys, I understand what you're talking about hunting against competition, because I feel like the guys in our section, we're all sharing those deer that are there.
Well, yeah, but you're not. You said you're not managing it.
Well, we try. We put in some food plots, John. We put in some food plots half-heartedly, but that's about all we did, to be honest with you.
I'm not. Yeah, that's kind of not what I'm talking about. You're talking about everybody probably in the area is passing on 1.5-year-old antlered bucks, but there's 2.5-year-old 100-inch, 110-inch bucks that get shot. I'm talking about those guys that do it ultra management where they're not even lifting their bow off the hook unless it's a 3 or 4 year old buck. Yeah, when you're hunting in rural private grounds, where there may be 15 or 20 different property owners in a section, and they all have somebody hunting on their property, yeah, that may not be public, but that's pressured every bit as much as public.
I got you, John. Hang tight. Hey, listen, we'll continue. Hang tight. We're talking with John Eberhart, the Whitetail Whisperer. Eberhart's WhitetailWorkshop.com, Eberhart's WhitetailWorkshop.com. You know John. He's a hunting legend here in Michigan. Look him up online. You'll be very, very impressed. We'll continue our conversation with John Eberhart, the Whitetail Whisperer, after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is a very good option for you. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and he helped me become a charter captain. He can do the same for you. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com. That's pmtcaptains.com for more info. John has classes across the state. I'm sure you can find one that fits your schedule. Don't wait any longer. You've been wanting to do this for a long time. You know you have. Go to pmtcaptains.com. That's pmtcaptains.com. We're talking now with the Whitetail Whisperer, John Eberhart, who in this most recent edition of Deer and Deer Hunting Magazine, as they asked the question, is this the country's best deer hunter? John, that is so cool. That is so exciting. I'm so happy for you. But I got to ask, how is retirement going now that you? I'm thinking you probably spent like 100 days in the tree stand last fall now, huh?
Well, the first thing I needed to do is apologize because I was referring to ultra-managed properties like you see on TV where, 2 or 3 monster bucks will come out and pick.
Oh, yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are places like that in Michigan. So I'm not talking about somebody that plants a food plot here and there, and, yeah, they're trying to shoot 2 or 3-year-olds. That's different because all the other property owners are hunting around you, and they may have different criteria than you do. So you are definitely hunting a fresh frontier.
I felt like I was.
Retirement is not overrated.
No.
I love retirement.
So
I want to apologize for all the guys that are planting food plots because everybody that owns private property is doing that nowadays. So yeah.
No, I knew what you meant. I knew exactly what you meant. So how did it affect your deer hunting last fall? Then did you do things any differently because you had more time to hunt?
Yeah, I actually hunted more, and I wasn't as successful. I took a buck 11 pointer in Michigan, and then I did go to Indiana, and I was unsuccessful there. I passed up a couple 2-year-olds on public land in Indiana. But other than that, yeah, last year I just took one really, really nice buck in Michigan.
Well, hopefully you had a chance to fish.
I hunted a lot.
Well,
I hunted more than normal.
And hopefully you had a chance to fish more, too, because I know you love to fish.
Actually, I did not fish all summer because I'm writing another book, and I'm writing another bow hunting book, so I've been working hard on that. I'm still not quite finished. So, can
you give me an idea? I mean, how is this one different? What's this one about? Obviously, deer hunting.
This is going to be / just general bow hunting knowledge and instructional book, but it's also going to have a lot of saddle hunting information in it as well. There's going to be probably 3 chapters specifically devoted to the advantages of saddle hunting, how to saddle hunt, how to set up trees, You know, a lot of all the different types of accessories there are in the saddle hunting marketplace and what they're for. So, but this is going to be by far my most deepest and most detailed book. It's going to be pretty damn long, and it's going to be in paper, ebook, and audiobook.
When can we look for that, John? Oh, audiobook too.
Yes.
Ah. Yep. Are you going to voice it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh.
Probably. I'm writing it in conjunction with one of the tethered guys, one of the tethered owners, Greg Godfrey. I'm writing the vast majority of the chapters, but Greg's going to do a lot of the saddle hunting stuff because he knows, he's kind of a gearhead, so he knows all the saddle gear way, way better than I do. I just use what I use. I don't really pay attention to what else is going on in the saddle marketplace. He does.
John, did you ever dream that saddle hunting would become as hot as it is? I mean, you've been doing this forever, but now it's the hottest thing in the deer hunting world.
Yes, I have dreamed it because I started in 1981. And it's kind of interesting because most of the guys that own saddle companies now that are making saddles, you know, they've read my books because I had chapters of saddle hunting in every one of the books I've written. And I always hoped it would get to the point it is now. But I couldn't get it to that point by myself. And it just seems like in 2018, when the tethered guys came out with saddles and did a lot of online marketing, it just blew up. And now there's got to be 20 different saddle manufacturers now, and they're all doing well. And I wanted it to become big because it's such a huge advantage over most conventional stands. So, you know, that's why I wanted it to be big, because it's going to give bow hunters more opportunities if they're using it properly.
How so, John? What do you mean by that?
Well, with a saddle, you can, if you're using it properly, you can shoot 360 degrees around any tree. You know, they weigh 2 to 3 pounds, so you're not carrying anything cumbersome. If you're freelance hunting, you know, back through the brush where you got a cumbersome stand and heavy stand on your back, you can hide behind the tree. You can move around the tree and hide behind it when non-target deer go by. Or if you're setting up at a destination location, let's say you're setting up at a white oak tree, you know, you always keep your or a scrape area, you always keep your destination shot location at 12 o'clock, and then you're on the opposite side of the tree at 6 o'clock. So you're totally hidden behind the tree, peeking around the corner of the tree, seeing when a shot opportunity might come, and then you just lean to the side, slide around, swing to the side, and take your shot. Whereas with a stand, you have to be in some sort of a position where the deer can actually see you in the tree. Because if you're on the opposite side of the tree, hidden behind the tree from the deer that may be there for 20 minutes, you know, you're going to get picked, especially in a state like Michigan where deer look in trees for people when they're eating. You know, they're always looking around, their ears are moving. So, and it's the safest thing out there because you're tethered to the tree from the moment you leave the ground until you come back on the ground. Again, it only weighs 2 pounds. You can hunt every tree you ever prepare for the rest of your life out of one saddle. I'm still using the same saddle that I bought in 1981, and I've probably hunted at least 500 trees from it. So, you know, once you've got the cost of your first saddle and ropes, you never have to buy another one. You know, with tree stands, you got to buy a tree stand for every tree, unless you're going to carry that heavy, cumbersome thing with you every time you go hunting at different spots.
A dumb question.
And there's many other advantages. That's a few of them. You can hunt leaning trees. You can hunt small diameter trees. You can hunt huge diameter trees. There's just a lot of advantages.
Here's a stupid question. With saddle hunting, though, don't you still need sticks or something to get up to the hunting height? Or how do you get up there?
You do. You use the exact same climbing apparatuses as you would with a tree stand. But back prior to 2018, you know, when you were carrying like climbing sticks, they were usually like 40 inches long, and they had 3 steps, one at the bottom, one in the middle, and one at the top. Mm-hmm. So they were relatively heavy and cumbersome. Whereas sticks nowadays, I mean, there's titanium sticks that weigh 15 ounces. There's carbon fiber sticks that weigh about a pound. You know, the sticks are much smaller now, and also you can add aiders to sticks, which are just fabric. It's just a piece of nylon fabric hanging below the bottom step. It doesn't add any weight to it whatsoever, and it's called an aider. So, with 5 sticks that are very short, they're 20 inches long each instead of 40, and they can strap right onto your backpack while you're going. In your saddle, you can wear your saddle, or you can roll it up and put it in your backpack. So you're not carrying a lot of cumbersome, heavy gear, because when you're hunting heavily pressured areas, you're usually having to traverse through some sort of brush or tall vegetation where something cumbersome in a big frame is going to hook up on brush. And with a saddle, that's just not the case.
Yeah. Well, John, the original reason I wanted to talk this week was to talk about post-season scouting. I've talked so much, I've only left you a couple of minutes, but this is a good time, in your opinion, to be scouting, or are you going to wait a few weeks till the snow goes, or what?
You have to wait till the snow goes. Yep, the deer sign you see in the snow is 100% worthless for fall hunting, because when you get snow like this, the deer move. They move closer and bed closer to preferred, winter food sources. They're not way back deep in the swamps. It's far enough after season that they're not bedding. They have no reason to be bedded back in there. They're more peripheral to the preferred food sources. And also, with snow on the ground, you can't see where the scrapes were from last year. You can't see a lot of the sun because it's covered up. The ground's covered up. So once the snow melts, you can see all the runways from last fall. Scrape areas are still very viable. Rubs, you can tell the difference during postseason. You can see a rub from last year as opposed to if you preseason scout. You can't tell last year's rub from 2 years ago rub. They kind of darken up and look the same. So in postseason, you can totally go out and intrude on your property as much as you want. You don't have to worry about scent and spooking deer because they'll all be back in there well before season. So you scrutinize every inch of your property. And, I'm a big bedding area hunter, so when I'm hunting interiors of bedding areas during the rut phases, you can't go in there and scout those preseason because you're going to spook the deer out of there, with your intrusions and location preparation intrusions. So you do that during postseason, and then you mark them on your Onyx. You mark them as waypoints, and, put your tracking lines on Onyx, and then you just don't go back to those spots until the rut phases. Now you're catching the deer totally off guard because you haven't made any preseason or prior to the rut phase intrusions.
Before I let you go, you're still doing the whitetail workshops?
I am, and the first one, March shop is full, but the April 6 and 7 and 2021 shops, I still have a couple openings. And hey, how about those lions?
How about those lions? Eberhart's Whitetail Workshop. Eberhart's Whitetail Workshop.com. It's a good year to be a football fan in the state of Michigan, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
All right, John, always a pleasure. Let's talk again. Congrats on all your success. I'll look forward to the new book. I will look forward to listening to the audio version of the new book for sure. John Eberhart, the Whitetail Whisperer. Eberhart's Whitetail Workshop.com. Eberhart's Whitetail Workshop.com. He is the man in deer hunting here in Michigan. And, well, the folks at Deer and Deer Hunting say the country as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, Corporal Mike Hearn of the Michigan DNR checking in. We finally got some snow for snowmobilers. We'll talk about that. I also have a question for him for this week's Ask Avery segment. And then in our third hour, we're talking predator hunting. Primarily coyotes, maybe some fox as well, with Skeeter Beckman of Brenton USA Hunting Rifles. And we're going to wrap it all up with wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Sure appreciate you being along with us this week. You can hear the show on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, including Big Country Gold, WCBY out of Sheboygan, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra, 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us north of the bridge. Let's go to Manistee. WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned. I love that. Killer Food Plots. Now, listen, I know you're not putting in food plots right now. You're not even hunting over your food plots right now. But this is a good time to kind of take stock of the season, see how it went, be thinking about what you can do differently next year, what you can do better next year, because food plot planting season is not that far away, and the folks at Killer Food Plots can help you out. Check them out online at killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Well, we have snow across, I think, all of the state now. For how long, I don't know. But that snow brings out skiers, cross-country skiers, snowmobilers. To talk more about that, Corporal Mike Hearn of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, good, Mike. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, a real pleasure. So your job, Mike, is snowmobiles this time of year and ATVs in the summertime. That's kind of an interesting job, I would imagine.
It is. I'm still a conservation officer, but I've been with the department now for 19 years. And a couple of years ago, I promoted out of our field position into this ORV and snowmobile specialist role with Law Division. So it's different than the field work, but it's different in a lot of good ways. So it's an education and education role for the most part, I would imagine. A lot of it is. Part of the position is coordinating the education efforts for the ORV and snowmobile safety education program statewide. There's a whole bunch of volunteers that teach those courses, and I'm kind of like their go-to for all of that. And then, on top of that, I'm responsible for a lot of training issues. I train our new COs in all aspects of, emergency vehicle driving, and that's, the ORVs, the patrol trucks, the snowmobiles, and then also a bunch of legal issues that surround ORVs and snowmobiles.
What do you want folks listening to keep in mind, to be aware of?
Yeah, so there's a lot of just different safety aspects when it comes to snowmobiling. One of the ones right now, there's a shift within the snowmobiling sport, and so much of the activity and the snowmobilers are kind of doing a lot of backcountry and off-trail riding. And, first and foremost, I'd just like to throw out there, if you don't know where you are, and a lot of people don't, it's best just to stick to the roads and the designated trail system. Number one, you're not getting lost, but there's a whole host of safety aspects that come along with hitting objects that you don't know are there. And I will never forget, a guy that saw some fresh powder and got off of one of the groomed snowmobile trails just adjacent to it with his brand new snowmobile and caught a stump and just totaled that machine out. And, that happens on a regular basis. And it's not because you can't ride off trail, but if you don't know that, hey, you're just riding through powder, well, all you're doing is just, it's only a matter of time before you hit something in that powder. So you've got to have that base before you really start venturing off trail. The other aspect is when you get off trail, you don't know whose property you're on. And, we're having a lot of issues with snowmobile trespass, whether it be on farm fields or even in some businesses. Last year up at Chatham, we had a group of snowmobilers that got onto the ski hill up there and did quite a significant amount of damage that caused them to have to shut down for 2 weeks. So really, first and foremost, I'd say stick with where you're supposed to be, and first and foremost, that's the trail system.
Well, the folks that went on the ski hill, I mean, they knew what they were doing, right? That was intentional, I got to believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know if they were ever caught. I don't think that they were, but it's hard not to know that you're on a ski hill when you're riding right underneath a ski lift.
Yeah. So when we talked before we hit the air, I said, Mike, speaking of accidents, I said, are these caused because these sleds go so fast these days? And you said, no, these sleds have gone fast for a long time. It's not just the speed, it's other factors, right?
It is. It seems like a lot of people have that misconception that, these snowmobilers are just, they're built faster and, they're more performance driven than they always have been. And I don't disagree. There's certainly some performance aspects that have changed in the last few years that do make them more powerful. But I mean, since I've been in the department, we've always been on snowmobiles that can go, over 75 miles an hour up to 100 miles an hour. So it's not, that speed has always been there. So I when we start looking at accidents, there's a lot of it that really boils down to just people overriding their capabilities. A lot of it is people overriding their headlights at night. I mean, your headlights only go out so far, and if you're doing 60 miles an hour, you've only got so much time to react to a curve or something like that that's ahead. So, that's the same phenomenon in driving. You're on the road, you can override your headlights. And then we have just the issues with the drugs and alcohol associated with our crashes and fatalities as well too.
Mike, can you hang on for another segment? I want to bring you into the Ask Avery segment if you can stick around.
Absolutely.
All right, we're talking with Corporal Mike Hearn of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. We've got snow. You're out there on your machines. It's been a while, hasn't it? When we come back, an Ask Avery question, it ties in very well to Corporal Hearn's expertise. And coming up in our third hour, Skeeter Beckman from Brenton USA Hunting Rifles talks about predator hunting. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Holland on WHTC 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. I mean Holland, Michigan. Although you can hear the podcast version of the show in the country of Holland as well. You can also hear the show in Manistee on MLQ 97.7. And you can hear us. Let's go north of the bridge one last time. Let's go to Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. I hope to be bear hunting this fall, just west of Newberry, with the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler, but we'll save that story for another time. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. By now, you know how this segment works. This is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. If you have a question that you would like me to answer directly, or if you have a question you want me to hand over to somebody else, maybe it's MUCC or DNR, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and we'll try to get your question on the air. This week's question was actually brought up during a live stream, and it ties in perfectly to the expertise of Corporal Mike Hearn, who is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mike is a conservation officer. I affectionately call these guys game wardens. Mike, this question is you said you're a snowmobile and an ORV guy. So the question is, can you run an ORV on a snowmobile trail, a designated snowmobile trail?
It's a good question, and it's a hotbed topic in the state right now and has been for the last couple of years. So unfortunately, it's not a black and white answer. The general answer is yes, they can, but some places in the state they can't. There's some counties that do have land use orders that restrict wheeled vehicles once snow depths reach a certain level. And, then there's some at times where the snowmobile trail runs through private property. And in those instances, the DNR, what they do is they have a lease agreement with that property owner, and public access is only given to snowmobiles that are using that trail. And you'll see that a lot in, Southwest, Lower Peninsula, and especially up in the UP. So, when you're running through those private property leases, an ORV can't be on those. So, historically, it's never been a huge problem, and there's been certain pockets of the state where we had some issues with hound hunters and, them getting their trucks and stuff on the trails, chasing after bobcat and coyotes. But, the ORV and snowmobile communities have existed with a mutual understanding, for one another's sport. So it's kind of like I equate it to using somebody's tree stand on public land. Just because you can do it, should you? So we're seeing a lot of side-by-sides operating on the groomed trails now. And you've got to remember, these things are heavier. They're geared differently than snowmobiles, and they create a ton of ruts and make the trails unsafe. They're wider, so they take up a lot of space on the trails when they're going the opposite direction. And so all these conflicts have created a lot of discussion and talk, and some House bills that have been introduced the last couple of years to actually regulate wheeled vehicles on the groomed trails. And those laws do exist in other states, but it hasn't come to fruition yet. So, I would leave with this. If the snowmobile trail is open to ORVs, snowmobilers need to be aware that, they need to ride with caution, as if the side-by-side is coming around that next corner. But then on the flip side, if you're the ORVer and you've got these side-by-sides, you have to be considerate of, how you operate those machines and the kind of trail conditions that they are. So it's probably not best to take your side-by-side out on those warm days when that's going to really deplete and diminish that trail quality, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. You talk about minimizing conflict. I hate to see, in today's world when there's so much conflict anyway, when we take, the things that we love so much, hunting and fishing, shooting and trapping, and outdoor recreation, snowmobiling or whatever, and you start pitting groups against each other, that's the last thing in the world we need these days.
It is. And, those two communities have coexisted for so long. And, I've always seen ATVs on the snowmobile trails my entire career. And, I've never once fielded, maybe a area where they were doing donuts or something like that, but it was never a huge issue like it is now. So the side-by-sides have changed the landscape, and, they have just as much right to be there if it's a legal trail for them as what the snowmobilers do. But they've got to find the ability to kind of exist harmoniously at this time. So otherwise, there's going to be laws to regulate it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Mike, I didn't realize how big these side-by-sides were until a couple of falls ago when I was up at Newberry, bear hunting up there. Man, this is a big deal now, isn't it?
Yeah. Those groomed snowmobile trails, in our ORV routes, they're only maintained to 72 inches wide. And what do those things run, like 60 inches or something like that?
Take
wide?
up the whole trail, that's for sure.
Yeah, honestly, most places on an ORV route, if two side-by-sides are passing one another, some person has to give way because they just can't, pass each other without, the trails are just too small. So it's really dangerous. Those guys, at least they're in a cage. If they end up getting into an accident or a crash, they've got some sort of safety gear around them, and the snowmobilers just don't have that. But you see that though too with, even the motorcycle guys, they're all complaining because the side-by-sides are taking over their trails and pushing them off too. So,
Mike, I got to let you go. I'm out of time. You know how this works. I appreciate your time. Corporal Mike Hearn of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, and a big thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Skeeter Beckman talking about coyote hunting, and wild game chef Dixie Dave, and I don't think he's talking about cooking up coyote.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you once again, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network. As I heard Ken read that list of partners, and I don't look at the people I work with as sponsors. Sponsors come and go. Partners. I like to partner up with companies. And I heard the list that Ken was reading there. Man, the vast majority, if not all of those, are Michigan-based companies. Michigan-based family-owned companies. I love to work with Michigan-based family-owned companies. I love the fact that us Michigan people are all in this together. We come from a similar background. We tend to have similar mindset. And whenever I can deal with a company where I can sit down and have a cup of coffee with the people who make the decisions, that's, these big corporate conglomerate with the different ad agencies and the marketing. I don't like working with that. I like to My sweet spot, again, is Michigan-based family-owned companies. And they've got to be companies that have a product or a service that I can get behind. I am well past the point in my career when I need to, be endorsing a company that I don't believe in. I'd like to think I was never there, but certainly at this point, I wouldn't do it. Michigan-based, family-owned Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, a company I've been working with for the last couple of years. I had limited experience with the AR platform. I had a couple of home defense guns just because I thought, I better buy these things while I still can. Fortunately, we can still buy them. And then Brenton came along, and they said, you got to look at this concept of an AR-style platform as a hunting rifle. And they have done a wonderful job in promoting that concept. I have a Brenton 350 Legend that I absolutely love. I have not coyote hunted yet with that gun. I think it would be a bit big for coyote hunting, but if I had the chance, I might use it. Skeeter Beckman, Eric Skeeter Beckman, is an avid predator hunter. He just happens to be working with the Brenton company as well, with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Skeeter, welcome back. How have you been?
Oh, well, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. It's we finally got a little bit of winter. I don't know how long it's going to stick around, but I don't know. As I drive, out in the countryside at night now, and I'm looking out in these fields, I can see into these fields even with a naked eye. You guys, with all your fancy optics and thermals and stuff, it's got to be like a light a playing field is just lit completely up for you guys.
Oh my goodness! It's a catch-22, right? You can see into the field a little bit better, and with all the cool technology that we have, we can see all those heat signatures and stuff. But you got to get a little bit sneaky when there's snow on. That snow creates a crunch sometimes and some noise that you're creating when you're walking in, and it's pretty easy for a predator to pinpoint you walking across a snow-covered field. So we got to use a little bit of cover and got to get sneaky a little bit again.
Does anybody even hunt coyotes during the daytime anymore, or has it turned into almost exclusively a nighttime sport?
Well, I think nighttime creates a little bit of, I don't want to say ease for it, because coyote hunting is not easy, but you've got that mask of darkness. You're getting away with some things that you can't get away with in the deer woods, or you can't get away with in the daytime. So there's that level of confidence that you're concealed. So a lot of guys like to do it, but you can still kill coyotes during the day. So day walkers, we call them.
Day walkers.
Call them out of some thick stuff. And I've got actually an event where I'm going to be hunting coyotes this weekend, and I've brought along a shotgun because I'm going to sit in some really thick stuff in the day, and I'm going to try to. I'll have my partner on his Brenton 6 ARC, and I'll be there for the ones that come ripping in to try to get the collar and hopefully get them at 25 feet.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Coyote hunting contests, those have become a pretty big deal here in Michigan the last few years.
They have become a very big deal. Also, we had a little bit of controversy behind it. I know that, when you're talking about a contest where, you end up harvesting animals, that can be a little touch and go, but they are big business, and a lot of people like to do it, especially this time of year when, deer hunting's done and you're kind of coming down off of that. You got your freezer full, and now you're like, what can I continue to do for whitetail deer in my area? And it's property management. You can't plant food plots. It's not that time of year, but it is definitely a time of year to trap and hunt your predators that you may have too many of them on your piece of property.
Well, yes, I know the antis have really come out against the hunting contest, but you talk about doing this for your deer herd. If we didn't have hunting and trapping, thank God for trapping, to control our predator population here in Michigan, we'd be overrun. I mean, look at wolves in the UP.
Oh, absolutely. I quit going to the UP 12 years ago. It was one of those I loved going up there, and I loved doing my deer hunting. And then one year you show up, and all the deer are standing in the middle of a power line in the middle of the day and won't go in the woods. And you go, what the heck is going on here? And start talking to some of the locals and the DNR officers. And you have got to take care of your predators.
Predators in the lower, I talk mostly about coyotes, but you've also got coyotes, you got fox, you got bobcats. Those are also predators. Do you hunt those as well, Skeeter?
I do. I actually got my hunting partner and I got 2 foxes. Got a nice double of reds the other night, and nice thick fur on them. And they had been taking chickens from around neighborhood farms.
Oh, those landowners have to love you then.
Oh, absolutely. You get a lot of mileage out of those pictures. When someone calls you and says, I'm missing chickens, I just found feathers, and then show them a nice double pair of red foxes. And I think I've got permission to hunt there forever now.
I was going to ask if you hunt fox differently than coyotes, but yeah, if you've got fox that are hitting a chicken coop, you are going to hunt them differently. Are you going to set up on that chicken coop, or how are you going to do that, Skeeter?
No, I actually called them. They're in the area, and I like to reach out to a fox's stomach. So I'm playing those food calls and talking to them that way. Normally, and it's funny, you call a fox in. I know one, I called in and got it on video, this thing running at 20 miles an hour directly at me like he was on a frozen rope. And then the other one, we kind of saw him out of the corner of our eye, turned, get the thermals on him, look at him, decide which way he's going. And it was kind of picking through mouse in the area. So it was there and kind of responding to our call. Like maybe it came into that, but got sidetracked by some mice in the field and ended up getting a little too close and stopped for just a little too long.
Tell me about those thermals.
Oh, they're cool. But not all thermals are the same. So you get what you pay for with a thermal. I think when you get into it and you start looking at all these brands and all these processors, and you go, there's a big difference between this one that you can buy for $1,700 versus this one you buy for $6,000. And then you start thinking about that and say, I want to put $6,000 on top of my rifle. And I'm throwing this thing over my shoulder and walking around in the dark with it. It becomes, there's a lot in between. So you don't have to get too intimidated by it, but it does take some planning. Like if you decide you want to predator hunt thermal, that doesn't mean that you can't predator hunt with night vision. You can't predator hunt with that added IR light. That is a lot cheaper, very affordable for entry level to go, I want to learn how to do this. If you like it, you're going to spend your money like you're mad at it to get better.
It used to be you just get yourself some nice lights, red light, a strong, powerful light. Those things seems like nobody uses those anymore. But tell me the difference, and forgive me for not knowing this, between thermal and what was infrared? Is that the other one you said?
Yeah, like a night vision scope.
A night vision, yeah. What's the difference?
Yeah, so a night vision scope, when you have it actually on night vision and turn on an infrared light, we can't see it in the spectrum that it is. So it's the same technology that our trail cameras run off of. When you buy a blackout or a stealth or anything that has an IR style light on it, you don't actually see a flash, but the camera picks it up. Same concept. You throw a constant beam of light out there that can't be seen by the naked eye and can't be seen by the animals around, but your scope can actually pick it up. So when you look through it, your scope, you actually see it like a spotlight in the field.
Hang tight, Skeeter. That's interesting. We're talking with Skeeter Beckman, Eric Skeeter Beckman, predator hunter. He's with Brenton USA, BrentonUSA.com, the AR-style hunting rifles. Made right here in Michigan, by the way. Very cool. BrentonUSA.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll talk more with Skeeter about predator hunting with an AR-style rifle, and probably specifically a Brenton as well. That's coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM as well. Those are just a couple of our 33 affiliate stations. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith, Outdoors Realtor. Matt, a longtime friend of mine, really good guy. He's an expert at finding recreational properties, vacation homes. He also your primary residence. I mean, don't leave him out of that business as well. He's helped a lot of people find their forever home. You can find him online at Matt Smith Outdoors. He's on Facebook and Instagram. This whole concept of waiting until the right time to do something. I had Matt on the show a few weeks ago, and I posed this question to him. I said, Matt, the interest rates or whatever, prices or whatever, things kind of working against you. And he said, that's true. He said, but when it becomes the right time for your family to make something happen, and that is turn a dream into a reality, you got to pull the trigger on it. There are ways to make it happen, and Matt can help you do that. Again, Matt Smith Outdoors. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. Just a really, really good guy who can help your family out. Another good guy who, in fact, is on the phone line with us right now, Skeeter Beckman. Skeeter is an avid predator hunter. He's also working with Brenton Rifles, made right here in Michigan, BrentonUSA.com, BrentonUSA.com. Skeeter, why do I see so many predator hunters using the AR platform?
It is performance based. Performance based. It's a semi-automatic rifle that's carrying the load that's needed for coyote. When we jumped into that 350, 450 and in that platform, that's when it really took off with deer. I've been shooting deer with an AR style rifle for a while, and not in the 350, 450. I'm actually using a 6.5 Grendel. But that was typically known as a varmint cartridge. So your really hot cartridges that were used for varmint, like your 22-250 bolt action rifle, they're just a little bit slow, and they're a very small, very fast animal. 22-250 bolt action rifle in the middle of the night, you're going to need to be a crack shot if you're going to get them on number 2. You definitely want to get it on 1, and more times than not, you call in more than one coyote at a time. So those follow-up shots were a little bit hard with that AR style rifle. They're easily suppressed. They are semi-automatic rifles. The Brenton USAs are sub MOA and very precision based, and you're getting low recoil out of an AR platform. Perfect for this nighttime predator hunting.
You mentioned easily suppressed. I have a suppressor waiting for me up at Jay's Sporting Goods up in Clare. I need to get up there and fill out the paperwork. I can't wait to put a suppressor on that Brenton 350 Legend.
I tell you what, I put a suppressor, the Brenton suppressor, on the Brenton 350 Legend this year. And my first time out, I went out, I did an unboxing video, I put it on my rifle, I checked for 0, walked from the range to my blind, got up in there and got myself 2 whitetail does that night. So I was able to take the first one, drop it in its tracks, and then scan around the field all on video and go, yep, there's another one. Nobody knew what was going on, and they came back, and the other one dropped within 40 seconds of the first one dropping. And I went, oh, this is nice. This is the way to do this.
Does the suppressor, did it change your point of impact at all?
It did not. But just for me being me and having to have that redundancy, I had to check.
And it didn't make a difference?
Didn't make a difference.
Now, what caliber are you using for your coyote hunting, for your predator hunting?
Currently, I'm using a 6.5 Grendel and a 6mm arc. I would say the 6mm arc is absolutely my favorite right now. And I'm going to say that because I have not gotten my hands on the 22 arc, which is a new one that's out. The Hornaday built this bullet, and everything I read on it tells me I have to have one. My wife would tell you I don't have to have one, but you look at it ballistically and you go 22-250 was the round that you had to have if you were a predator hunter 10 years ago. And this thing goes under 500 yards. It's neck and neck with the 22-250. So this 22 arc is going to be hot, and Brenton is accepting orders as of February 1st for the 22 arc. The barrels are on their way, and they're ready to put them together.
Now, I was going to ask how you guys at Brenton stay ahead of all these calibers, because you take it into the deer hunting world now. You've got the new 360 buck hammer, you got the 400 Legend to compete with the 450 and the 350. There's a lot of options out there these days.
Oh, absolutely. We've got the 400. It's actually, the barrels are being built right now, so the 400 will be available in all 5 of the colors. So we're right on board, and with the tight-knit group that we have, and as much kind of dug into this community as we are, we're looking for the next best thing to add to the lineup.
How is the campaign going, just in general, in the AR world in general, of promoting these guns as hunting rifles? Because the non-hunting public looks at these rifles and they see assault guns. Now, you and I both know that they're not assault weapons, but that's the stigma. Is that still something you're trying to, or have to, overcome?
I think that's something that you will have to overcome as long as they are not a wood stock bolt action rifle. And I think that on both sides of the aisle, there's been, talk about what's right and what's wrong, and a lot of misinformation can get out there. I will tell you that the rifles that Brenton creates are specifically designed for hunting, and they take all that paramilitary stuff out of it, and that's where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
These guys are toting M4s in the military, and they might be comfortable picking up a rifle like ours to hunt deer with, but this is pretty easy once you get somebody who hasn't used it before out on the range, let them use the rifle, and go, oh, this is something completely different.
It really hit home to me last fall on opening day of rifle season. I was out there with my son James and my granddaughter Addison, and we took a little break around noontime, and we all leaned our guns up against a tree. And I looked, and there's 3 AR style guns there. There's my Brenton 350 Legend, and then there's a couple more ARs there. I'm like, wow, deer hunting has changed in some ways.
Oh, absolutely, and we've gone through it before, right? If you and I were together in that same scenario 25 years ago, it would have all been 30-30 lever actions and bolt action Remington 30-06s.
Yeah.
And we've kind of made that progression to the next step where we go, if we're going to shoot a 30-06 for whitetail deer, I don't want to beat myself up anymore, so I want to go with the 6.5 Grendel, which is just a little bit smaller of a bullet, and I'm inside of 200 yards for most of my shots, which I actually did take one with that at 369 yards this year, but it's the performance. I'm not beating myself up. I don't have the recoil. I'm getting a little bit too old to be toting around the 30-06 8-pound gun that kicks like a mule.
And the addition of straight walled cartridges for deer hunting in southern Michigan, that has really been a big boost to the AR style platform too, I've got to believe.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I think that when a deer hunter thinks about that AR, they go, okay, like I've got to get into that 450 Bushmaster. I've got to get into that 350 Legend. And I think that that's a good jump off point for those guys, because it's going to be super accurate. Be able to take those deer. If you're out there with a 20 gauge and somebody comes out with a 350, it's night and day difference.
Not to get too geeky, but how does the 400 Legend and the 360 Buckhammer, how do they compare to the 350 and 450? Are we starting to split hairs here now, or is there a significant difference?
Oh no, we're starting to split hairs. Like so these are micro differences, and depending on what your situation is will depend on what you want to go with, the 350, the 450, or the 400. I need to get behind a 400 yet. I haven't shot one. I've gone through all the ballistic charts and go, okay, I like it. I like the energy it's carrying. I like that the distance that it's going to go. I think that it's going to absolutely do the job. Do I think it's going to outperform a 350? I don't think so. Depending on who's behind the rifle.
Always, right?
Yeah. So I think that maybe with that 400, I think you're going to be able to get away with a little more than you will with the 350. But I think it flies a lot better than the 450 on paper. I still need to put it downrange.
Would my 350 just be too much for predator hunting?
I have talked to lots of guys who have taken coyotes with a 350.
Okay.
I think that most of those takes are incidental, because if you're someone like me, every hunt turns into a coyote hunt if a coyote shows up.
I know what you mean.
I don't care what I'm doing. Yeah. Like I can go, today I'm going to kill 3.5-year-old 8 points or better and be that guy. Well, let a coyote show up and my plan will be changed. Yeah. So I will ruin any hunt to pull the trigger on a coyote.
Skeeter, listen, I got to let you go, but it's always a pleasure to talk with you. You're a hardcore hunter. I love that. You're a gun guy. I love that. And you're a Brenton guy, and I love that as well. And I appreciate your time this week.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Eric Skeeter Beckman. I asked him one time, I said, why do they call you Skeeter? That's a story for another show. He's a Brenton guy. The website for Brenton is BrentonUSA.com, BrentonUSA.com. I love old guns. I love old Woodstock family heirlooms and the history and tradition and the stories that come with them. I love them. But I'm also fascinated and have embraced the AR style platform as well, BrentonUSA.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. Wrap up a few loose ends before we wrap it all up with wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. In fact, you can hear the show on 98.5 all over northern Michigan. Very, very powerful station. A blowtorch signal, we call it. You can also hear us in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. And let's jump over to the other side of the state. Saginaw, WSGW, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. I'm here with Jonathan Dent. John doing a wonderful job as always. I appreciate that very much. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard, as they have for me. This time of year, they're not doing any mowing. They're not doing a lot of landscaping. What they are doing is plowing snow. I've seen the Reader guys out there. They're glad to see the snow, and they've been busy taking care of it. If you have decided you've plowed enough snow or shoveled enough snow, that's more likely. If you have shoveled enough snow for this year, and you say, look, for the rest of the winter, I want the Reader folks to take care of it, get in touch with them. They can do that for your residence or your commercial property. And let's start thinking about this next season coming up, the season that is springtime. If you have a landscape project that you'd like to work with the folks at Reader on, don't wait. Don't drag your feet. Get in touch with them now to get on the schedule and be all locked in so when the weather breaks, they can get to work on your on your projects. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. Let me see what else is on my list here. A couple things I wanted to... have you signed up, or are you interested, or do you have any faith in the concept of this deer management initiative that the DNR is getting involved in? They are reaching out to stakeholders, and what that means is hunters like you and me. There's actually an application online. I filled it out. I thought, if they're going to give me the chance to have a say in the future of deer management in Michigan, I'm going to fill it out. Will I get chosen? Absolutely not. I don't think I'm qualified. But the fact that the opportunity is there, I think, is interesting. Now, the DNR naysayers, the critics who hate everything the DNR has ever done and will do, say, well, this is just another, they're just blowing smoke. They really don't want to hear what we have to say. They're asking you to get involved. So anyway, I filled it out. We'll see what happens here. The Trinity Dinner, my church, school, Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction is coming up Saturday, March 2nd. We do have tickets. We are going to sell out. If you would like to join us for that event, go to the website one.bidpal.net. One, the number one. I'm sorry, the word one. ONE, one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. You can get your tickets online. We have a lot of things going on here. A real nice, fun, big live auction. In that live auction, we're going to auction off some hunts. Okay, listen to these hunts. An African safari, an Illinois bow hunt for whitetail, a UP bear hunt. We just got the addition of a Northern Michigan turkey hunt as well. For fishing trips, we've got 2 Saginaw Bay trips, one with Captain Doug Ward, one with me. Walleye fishing trip on Detroit River with Captain Mark Panonzek. Guns, a lot of guns, lots of guns. Go to the website one.bidpal.net, one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor, and get your tickets online. That's Saturday, March 2nd at the Great Hall in Midland. Speaking of events, there's also an event coming up in March. After the Trinity Dinner, we're going to do another Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Details on that as we get closer. And what do you think of this concept? This was thrown out last week during one of my live streams. I was here in the studio behind the mic every Wednesday morning, 8:45. And I said casually, one of my goals for 2024 is to play more golf. I'm not very good at golf, but I really do like it. It's a good way to get outdoors, get some exercise, and just have some fun. And somebody, I think his name was Bill Lincoln, said, hey, Avery, why don't you have a Mike Avery Outdoors golf outing? And I thought, boy, that could be a lot of fun. And then everybody piled on and said, okay, we want to be involved. I want to be a whole sponsor. And the thing just kind of took off and got legs. And see, I never thought of a golf outing as a fundraiser. I just thought of it as a fun event. But people are saying, no, you can make some money on these things. Avery, what do you want to do with the money? And then I got thinking, well, I do work with the folks at MUCC. They could use some money for their Camp for Kids. Camp for Kids is designed to get, obviously, kids involved in the outdoors. What finer goal is there than that? Okay, so we have a golf outing. We raise money for MUCC's Camp for Kids. This could be something. I've been in contact with some folks. Right now, the West Branch Country Club is one very good option. So we're trying to figure out the details, trying to figure out a time frame. Is this something you'd want to be involved in? Send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Let me know your level of interest in something like this. Would you want to play in such an event? Would you want to sponsor a hole, be involved somehow? Let me know, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That email address is the best way to get in touch with me. Unless you have my cell, and I'm not going to give my cell number out online, unless you have my cell number, the email address is the best way to get me, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What's on your mind? Share your pictures with me. If you have pictures of your kids in the outdoors, hunting, fishing, shooting, trapping, snowmobiling, whatever, skiing, send them to me. I'll share them. Use the hashtag #ForwardFuelsTradition, and you will be entered to win a $50 gift certificate from the Forward Corporation every month. We'll wrap it up with Dixie Dave coming up. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. So glad to have you along with us. If you've listened before, welcome back. If you're a new listener, thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you've spent any time with us at all, you know that I like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. Just a really good guy. Really good guy. And he's with us now once again on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. David, welcome back. How are you?
Really good, Michael. And yourself?
I am doing great. And, you know, last week, I started posting the recipes out of the cookbook. And again, I don't know why I haven't been doing this all along, but the response has been so positive, Dave. So I'm going to keep doing that with your permission, if you don't mind. Each week when you do a recipe, you give me the page number out of the cookbook, and over the weekend, I'll post it online.
Okay, we're going to do Walleye New Orleans, and that's page 8. And this, when we had the restaurant, this was your wife's very favorite dish.
Well, I think this is most everybody's favorite dish. You can't go wrong. What's the page again, Dave? I'm sorry.
38.
One more time. I'm sorry.
38.
38. Thank you. 38. Got it. Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'll post it online. Let's hear the recipe.
Is my reception okay?
But it was something, it just coincidentally, every time you said that, something broke up. Yeah, you sound good overall. I just had a hard time getting the numbers, but I'm good now.
Okay, we need about 8 ounces or 10 ounces of boneless, skinless filet. What made me think of this recipe, not to change the subject, I went over the 675 bridge there on the Saginaw River.
Yeah.
And there was so many people fishing, I couldn't believe it already. So,
I know.
And I'm sure it had a lot of walleye. So we need a can of artichoke hearts drained and quartered, 12-ounce package of mushrooms sliced thin, and this is for 4 portions. About a third of a cup of diced onions, very fine, a couple of eggs beaten up, a cup of flour, half a stick of butter, about a cup of white wine, dry white wine. If you're going to drink whatever wine you're going to drink with this meal, I would suggest using it in the cooking process too. About a tablespoon of fresh chopped parsley and the juice of a lemon. So what you're going to do is dredge the fish in flour, and then in the beaten up eggs, and in a nice hot pan with a little bit of oil, you're going to brown all of the fish, starting with the rib side down. And so when you flip it over, then the rib side would be up. And you can place these in a casserole, or if you're only going to do two fillets at a time, you could actually keep it in the same pan. And you want to reduce this down pretty fast. And so you're going to add the mushrooms, the white wine, the onions, the butter, the artichoke hearts, lemon juice, all at the same time. And you're going to cover it up for just a little while to kind of steam the mushrooms and the artichoke hearts and all of that through. And then you're going to uncover it and reduce it down over high heat pretty fast until it's thick and creamy. It's such a simple recipe. And you can place this on nice warm plates and spoon the goodies all over each one of the fillets and sprinkle with a little bit of parsley. I mean, this was one of our signature dishes at the restaurant. People loved it.
It is such a good dish. Now, you mentioned signature dishes. For our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner, we have a Dixie Dave Minar signature dish, and it's elk tips and red wine, if I remember right, Dave.
Correct.
That's going to be a good event.
We sold that to so many different venues. It was one of the staples. People loved it.
Well, and you mentioned that walleye New Orleans, too. Walleye is one of those fish that even if somebody's not a big fish eater, and I'm really not, I got to be honest with you, walleye tastes so good. And the way you cook it up, I mean, nobody can turn that down. That's wonderful.
It's one of the signature dishes. We did a lot of other walleye dishes, like the Italian style. We did it with coconut. We did it with shrimp. We did it with just numerous ways. People just love their walleye.
And again, I will post this recipe. This is on page 38 of the cookbook. Now, this cookbook, that big, beautiful cookbook that is kind of like the Bible for wild game cooking, can we get that anywhere these days?
Nope. It's out of print, but you can go to the secondhand market, and there's a lot of people tell me that they buy it that way. I always steer people to the secondhand market, used books.
Well, I'm hanging on to mine. They can't get my copy, that's for sure.
I got 3 left, and I'm not
hang on to those things. All right, David, always a pleasure. I will look forward to talking to you next week. And again, I will post the Walleye New Orleans recipe, which is page 38 in Dixie Dave's Wild Game Cookbook. I will post that on my Facebook page this weekend coming up. So, all right, David, have a good week. We'll talk to you next time, buddy.
Thank you. You too, Michael.
All right. Thank you. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. Has been for years. He was on the old TV show, and then on the radio show. Dave is now retired. In fact, the old Dixie Inn and Oscar and Joey's Roadhouse is no more. It's been, last I heard, they were tearing it down. I don't know what they're going to do with the property, but it's not the restaurant. It'll never be the same. But you can see Dave and his wife, Terry. They will be our guests of honor at our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up Saturday, March 2nd. For tickets, go to the website one.bidpal.net, one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor, and you can join us at that event. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Do a lot of stuff online as well, including some live streaming. Every Wednesday morning from the studio here at 8:45, I do a live stream. And, of course, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, the big Wednesday Night Live. Love to have you join us. Love to have you check it out. Love to see what's on your mind. We'll see what Mother Nature does to us this next week coming up. But I hope you have a chance to get out and enjoy yourself. And I hope you can join me next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.